So the nurse was just finishing up getting a blood sample from me. She had drawn off a couple of vials for a blood test, and she had the gauze in my hand and was wrapping it up, and I just told her, I appreciate your care for me. I could have said, I'm thankful or thank you, but I said, I appreciate your care for me. And boom, this word appreciate struck a memory in my head. So let's talk about houses. Sometime back, my son and daughter-in-law were shopping for a house. And it was a seller's market, and home buyers were entering into bidding wars. It's as if they would see the features in a house. They would see the garden and the landscaping outside, and they would see the hardwood floors on the inside, and they would say, I really like those hardwood floors, and they would put a bid in on a house. Someone else would say, well, I like those hardwood floors even more, and they would raise the price. Well, I appreciate that even more, and they would raise the price, and pretty soon home sellers were getting more than their asking price. So when we appreciate a house, we raise its value. We are doing that to something else. Now, when we build a house, build is a verb, and a house goes up. When we appreciate a house, that's a verb, and its value goes up. It's almost, can we say that I am building value? But it's always with something else. When we appreciate a house, I am appreciating that something else. So somehow it's done in a relationship. You can't just say, oh, I appreciate, and then have nothing there to appreciate. Now, I don't know how a person has a relationship with a house. So to say it's a relationship, that's kind of weird. But I know that when another person appreciates the same house, maybe I'm in a relationship with that person, and we are building value on the same thing. Somehow it seems that appreciation must be done in a relationship. Now, some time ago, I made a video called Non-Material Reality Exists, and I used mathematics to illustrate that premise. And in that video, I had a couple of speculations. One was that, holy cow, it seems to me like everything is founded on relationships. And secondly, another speculation was that there's a part of the universe, a part of reality that is personal. It also is non-material, and that is personal. Now, keep in mind that while a house is material, the value that I put on it may be expressed in material dollars, may be expressed in a material way, but the value itself is in my head. And the value is in that other person's head. And I've put it there. My value is in that other person's head. So now we have two non-material things. We have personality and value. So when a personality appreciates another personality, do I increase that other person's value? Do I increase that non-material personality's value? Have I just built a little more value into them? So when I appreciated that nurse's care, did I increase her value in a non-material section of reality? I rather like the possibility. I wouldn't know how it works. I'm okay with mystery, that great unexplainable, so long as it's reasonable, and so far this seems to be reasonable. But there's 4 questions I have. First has to do with words, communication, and whom. I've practiced getting that finger up there, that third one, and where. So the first one, must I say the words, I appreciate your care? Must I say, I appreciate the words? Now, some Christians, wait a minute, only some Christians believe that you must say the words. Then they have special words you have to say. They're in the Bible. And you have to say them with your mouth, because that's in the Bible too. You have to say them with your mouth. You can't write them out with your hand. So that means I'm going to hell because I haven't said them, and all mutes are going to hell because they can't say them with their mouth. So I don't believe that you have to say the words, I appreciate. It just can't be so. It's just not reasonable. But must it be communicated? After all, appreciation is done in a relationship, and communication seems to be a big part of relationship. So I'm willing to say that, so far, yeah, it's got to be communicated. Although I'm not really sure. But if so, then communicated with whom? I told the nurse. Did I have to tell the nurse in order for her value to go up? A little bit. And I don't think so. Telling her made her feel good, but I'm not interested in her feelings. I'm interested in building her value. And if not to the nurse or to any other person, then to whom? Is it sufficient to communicate my appreciation to whoever is listening when I do my nightly meditations on thankfulness? And if that's sufficient, then wow, think about that. That not only is my thankfulness, my attitude of thankfulness, reducing my own anxiety right there and then, reducing heart pressure over the long haul, but also somehow, in a very little way, increasing this other person's inherent value. That's interesting to think about. And finally, where does this increase happen? Well, with houses, I know that my value that I put on that house happens in my head. I also know it happens in the other person's head. And that when they appreciate it even more, it happens in my head. And if there's somebody watching online from Abu Dhabi or Singapore, we know what happens in their head as well. So with the houses, at least, we know that location doesn't, wait a minute, with houses, location always matters. But with value, location doesn't seem to matter. So that leaves me to wonder, when I increase this other person's value in my nightly meditations of thankfulness, is that value communicated, or is it perceived everywhere in the universe that there are personalities? We know so much about the physical universe. Thank God for scientists and engineers. They've done so much for us. We know so little about the personal portion of the universe. But it's fun to think about. See you next time.